Hi guys, and welcome to Pickles and Vodka podcast, first ever episode. I'm so excited to share this with you. I haven't even been working on it for a week, and it's already like something I'm super passionate about. Like, I've had so many ideas, so much support, really excited to just launch right into this and get started. So first, I need to paint you a picture of where I am right now. I'm in my very glamorous studio, aka my basement. It's really cold. I have like 2 blankets on me right now. I am surrounded by boxes because we're in the process of moving. By we, I mean me and my ex that I still live with. I'll get to that later. But I'm trying to make it more cozy by lighting a candle. One of my work babies gave it to me. Shout out to Naomi. It's Christmas cookie scented and it's cozy as fuck. My cat is lying on my lap as I speak. Her name is Ruby. She's the love of my life, and you'll learn plenty more about her later. But I just want to introduce myself formally to those of you who don't know me in real life. My name's Christina. I'm 26. I like to tell people I'm from Chicago because that's where I spent most of my teenage years, but I'm a Navy brat. I'm from a really big family. I have 6 younger siblings, and growing up, we were homeschooled. We moved around all the time. I was actually born in Florida and have lived in a lot of different states. So growing up, I was always super introverted. I didn't have a lot of friends. I liked to be by myself, and I always kind of felt like I was different. I started feeling really depressed around the age of 15. I started seeing a therapist. It helped some, but I was starting to get super insecure about my body, super insecure about who I was, and I started self-harming from a very early age. And that led to bulimia, and I was eventually hospitalized at the age of 17 in Chicago. For 11 days, I was inpatient. Almost didn't graduate high school because of it. And looking back, yeah, it was rough, but that was probably the beginning of a long journey that has eventually led me here. So I recently broke up with my ex, like I said. We're still friends, still love each other, don't worry, we're fine. But I'm not gonna lie, it's been rough. And a lot of the behaviors that I thought I had suppressed have come back. I used to have eating disorders throughout the years. I was bulimic, I restricted, and for a while they went away. When I moved to Austin 5 years ago, shout out to Austin, amazing city. I miss it every day. I got really healthy. I made friends. I had a great job, great coworkers, and I just kind of, recovered. I did start drinking a little more, but I didn't really pay any attention to it at the time because that's what everyone there did. And when I met my now ex, he's in the military, and we were like a year in, and he got restationed to the East Coast, and I decided to move here with him. And it was great at first, but we both have mental issues, and we weren't a very good fit from the start, but he's a very safe person. I feel so comfortable around him, and so we both kind of got comfortable and didn't want to accept the truth, basically. So this summer, we finally had a serious conversation about whether we were happy, and neither of us were really growing. And so we decided to part ways when our lease ended. Again, he's an amazing person. I love him so much. I love that we can have conversations like that, like adult to adult, because I have been in relationships where that wasn't the case. I basically used the breakup as an excuse to just fully go off the rails. Like, my eating disorder came back, full vengeance. I started drinking every day, and I basically hit rock bottom a few months ago and have just kind of chilled there for a while. And wondered what I was doing with my life. Which brings me to what this podcast is all about. So, in my darkest moments, I honestly felt like a total fraud. Like, on the outside, I was very high functioning. I was amazing at my job. I was in school, had friends, was pretty social, but on the inside, I was just dying and I couldn't talk to anyone about it. And I ended up reaching out to online communities, and that was really helpful. And it made me realize that I want to be able to be as open as I am online as I am in real life. Because it should really be that way, right? Like, we should be able to talk to our loved ones about what we're dealing with, but there's all this stigma against mental illness, and unless you're actively recovering, like, you can't talk about it. And so this podcast is all about opening a conversation. You know, what do we struggle with? What connects us? What terrifies us? And what ends up being humorous? Like, I'm a huge believer in laughing at myself. So it's helped me out in a lot of really dark places. And I think we should really just work on normalizing. So I want to say normalizing mental illness, but I realize that word can have negative connotations. I don't want to romanticize it, but I want it to be something that we're able to talk about without being judged. That's super important to me. I'm tired of feeling like a fake, and I think a lot of people feel like I do. I just want to let my voice be heard, and I want the voices of others to be heard. And this podcast hopefully will be a really great platform to do that. It's also scary as fuck because I know that people I know in real life will tune in and realize what I'm all about, and it's scary, but I'm willing to take the fall for you guys. Just kidding. Take the fall with me, please. Anyway, so that's basically an introduction to me. I'll talk more about myself in future episodes, but let me just say what I want this podcast to be about besides the general theme. I want to focus on different topics every week, and you guys have been really amazing so far at telling me what you want to hear about. So obviously, eating disorders and addiction are things that I have experience in, and we'll talk about them for sure in future episodes. But I also want to branch out and talk about stuff that I might not necessarily have experience with, but a lot of other people do. And I think it's really important to diversify. One topic someone brought up was what happens if you have multiple mental illnesses at once. Comorbidities is what they refer to it as. I hope I'm saying that right. But it's basically when you have multiple diseases or conditions in a patient. And I definitely have experienced that. Like, I've either had an eating disorder or I've had, issues with alcohol, but I've never really had them at the same time until recently. And I'm not going to lie, it sucks. I don't even feel like a human a lot of the time. And I think I would definitely like to do an episode about that. I'd like to do an episode about, bipolar disorder, because I don't have it. I haven't been diagnosed with it, but I have a lot of friends who have, and it's something I'm really curious about. High functioning people who have mental disorders, or they have these issues, but they're very high functioning. They run their own businesses. And I have a friend who is a badass, and she runs her own business, and she's had a lot of ups and downs over the years, and she's very transparent about it. And I think it's so important to realize that when you see these successful people on social media, it's not all magical, like, oh my God, this happened to me. They went through a lot of shit to be where they are now. And I think we need to talk about it. Not just the good, but the bad too. Another topic that I'm super curious about is upbringing and how it has an effect on us. I was raised in a very conservative background, and I'm not going to lie, it has had a huge effect on me. I'm sure I'll explore it in a future episode, but I have other friends who can say the same thing, and it brings the question of, nature versus nurture into play. how much of it is how you were raised and how much of it is just in your genetics. So those are just a few of the topics that I want to cover. There's millions out there, and you guys should tell me, like, what do you want to hear about? Because one of my biggest concerns with starting a podcast in the first place is, am I going to run out of stuff to talk about and just be stuck in my basement, like discussing cheese? Not that I would be opposed to that, but please send me emails, DM me, whatever you need to do. Let me know what you're curious about, what you want to hear about, and I will make an episode about it. I don't care. Like, I'm super open to anything. I want to get the word out about a bunch of different topics. So at the beginning of each episode, I want to kind of spend a little time talking about how my week went, because I believe that life is so crazy. Like, you can have good weeks and bad weeks, and all people want to talk about is the good weeks. So this is kind of my way of being accountable and just like, hey guys, this is how I'm doing. So this week was really big for me because, and I haven't even posted this on social media yet, I finally finished my last college class. And you don't realize, like, I'm 26. It's been like 8 years in and out of schools. I've been in 3 schools, had 3 different majors. There were times when I was paying out of pocket for, community college classes. It's just been such a wild ride, and I've worked so fucking hard to get here, and I can't even process it yet, honestly. Like, people have been asking me, like, how does it feel? And I'm just like, I don't know. I'm still, like, trying to catch up. So, yeah, I'm super proud of that. For those wondering, my degree is in graphic information technology, and I basically just focus on front-end web development. So I love coding and design. I've been doing it for fun since I was 12, and it's really cool to, actually have a piece of paper that says, this girl kind of knows her shit. We'll see if it actually helps me find a job, but more on that later. So yeah, I have spent the last few days just kind of catching up on chores around the house and building this podcast. I'm in the process of moving out of my current house, and I'm actually going to be moving across the country next month by myself, which is super exciting. Well, I should say not by myself, with my cat. That's been my week, is building this podcast and graduating school. Pretty fucking big week. All right, moving on. One thing that I love in a podcast is when hosts have an advice segment, when they read listener emails and answer questions. I just love it. So without further ado, I'm going to launch into our next segment, which is me answering some of your emails. You guys, if you follow me on social media, I've been hounding you guys over the last few days for emails, and you've responded amazingly. I've gotten so many. Some of them I am not going to answer today because I'm saving them for future episodes. I have a really amazing guest planned for next week. She's going to talk about dating with an eating disorder, and a lot of the emails I got were related to eating disorders, and I'm saving them for that episode. So if I haven't responded to you yet, it's not because I hate you. It's because I'm saving you for next time. So anyway, the first email is from Megan. She says, Christina, ! Love it. The long and short of it is, when I take time for myself, I feel anxious about all of the other things that I should be doing or that need to be done. So then I'm not able to focus completely on myself a lot of the time. Is this a common problem? Is there a way to fix this? Because I'm sick of taking time to myself and then spending it worrying about the things that are piling up because I'm not doing them. Thanksgiving holiday and family stress triggered my first migraine this week. Signed, Megan, the stressed out stay-at-home mom. First of all, let me say that sucks. Like, I've never had a migraine, but my mom had a ton of them growing up, and it's just debilitating. Like, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, and I'm sorry you're experiencing that. So that's rough, and I can completely relate because my impulse is just to be productive all the time, and if I'm not doing something productive, I feel like shit and just guilt trip the hell out of myself. And worry is a huge thing. Like, you say you're just constantly worrying about things that are piling up because you're not doing them. To me, it helps thinking about from the other person's perspective. Like, let's say your husband. To him, like, he sees that you're never giving yourself a break. You know, when you do try to give yourself a break, you have anxiety. And how do you think he feels? Like, he probably feels guilty himself. He probably wishes he could help you, but he doesn't know how. And I know your kids, I think you said they're really young right now, but think of like that example that you're setting for them. I think it's super important and healthy to show that you can give yourself a break and it's fine. Like, no one's perfect. The world's not going to end if you take an hour, give yourself a bath, read a book, go to the gym, I don't know, watch Lord of the Rings. I met Megan on a Lord of the Rings chat board like 12 years ago, so I'm a super nerd, by the way. But yeah, that's super rough. Maybe you could try meditation. There's an app called Headspace, and I used it a few times. My friend Bianca told me about it. It's really nice because you can pick your desired amount of time. Like, if you only have 10 minutes, there's 10-minute videos. You just plug it in, lie down, close your eyes, and just listen to this voice that walks you through various mental exercises. And I have never been a big believer in like meditation. When someone suggested it to me, I was like, that's not for me. But I really like it. And I don't do it enough, to be honest. My friend keeps bugging me to like friend her so we can keep track of each other's progress, but like I never do it. I'm do what I say, not what I do. But yeah, you could try meditation and just try like thinking of setting a good example for your kids. One of the things I don't want to say on the show is see a therapist, because I've had so many bad experiences with therapists, like right off the bat, and I know not everyone has access to that, and so I don't want to suggest that, but it's never a bad thing. Like, if you have access to it, if you can afford it, sometimes it helps, like, find a friend that you can maybe admit this to. It's nice to just admit, because maybe you might feel like you have to uphold this image of a perfect mom, and you don't want to tell anyone how miserable you are, and be honest more often. Like, that's what I'm trying to do with this podcast. Okay, love you, Megan. Moving on. This one is from someone who wants to be anonymous. She says, so on your darkest days, what are your coping mechanisms? What do you feel helps the most? What brings you out of the ditch? What makes the days better? Do you have any go-to techniques or hobbies or activities? This is a really great question because it can apply to so many different struggles, whether you struggle with anxiety or depression or like an eating disorder, or I don't know. Everyone needs coping mechanisms on their darkest days. And I don't care like how happy you are. Everyone has a dark day, just one dark day out of the year. I wish. For me, my most recent healthy coping mechanism, like I said, has been taking really long walks and listening to podcasts or books on tape. The reason I love it so much is that it lets me be alone, but I don't feel alone. Like, because I'm listening to someone else's voice, I can't get lost in my head. Because I definitely get lost in my head, and it's so toxic. And so yeah, it almost feels like you're surrounding yourself with people. That sounds so cheesy, but like, I don't know, it's great. I wish I discovered podcasts and stuff like that a long time ago. So yeah, find something to just listen to. Music is good too. Music has also been hugely therapeutic for me. It can also be unhealthy. Just listen to the right type of music, because for me, I definitely have songs and albums that are triggering, and sometimes I play them on purpose, like to drive myself further like into my slump. So be careful with music, but I definitely recommend that too. And I just have to mention my cat. She's a great coping mechanism because, like, no matter how bad I'm feeling, she doesn't. I do think animals can, like, sense how you feel sometimes. But when it comes down to it, like, she doesn't really know what I'm going through. She just loves me, and she has needs, and I can fill them. And feeding her, brushing her, it's so calming, and it kind of makes me remember that I'm not the only person in the world. Like, here's this adorable little fluff ball that depends on me. So animals are great. If you don't have one of your own, maybe volunteer at an animal shelter. I have a few friends that do that, and it's awesome. I haven't had time to volunteer with school, but like now that I'm done, that opens a whole new realm of possibilities. Like I can have hobbies again. Like I felt like I haven't had a hobby or something to be excited about in years. And so this podcast is I hope it will be a great coping mechanism. So yeah, there's lots of stuff out there. Hopefully this advice was kind of helpful. All right. So how long is this taking so far? Okay. We're at 20 minutes. That seems really short. Whatever. I will figure this out as I go. And you guys are along for the ride, whether you like it or not. Lucky you. I'm going to read one more email. This one is so adorable because for a few reasons. So the first reason is it's from a guy that went to the same like Christian school that I went to. It was a first grade through 12th grade school. So like all the ages were all mixed up. Super tiny. I graduated in a class of 12. But this kid was like, ooh, I'm trying to think of the ages of my siblings now. It's like, I forgot. He's like 6 years younger than me. He went to school with my brother. And apparently he found out about the podcast and he emailed me, which is super adorable. Sorry if that's weird that I called you adorable because you're like a fully grown man now. But anyway, he says, "Hey Christina, long time no see. Used to be classmates with your bro back in high school. Looking forward to the podcast." Thank you. You are so sweet. My question is, what's a little thing you enjoy or appreciate? Like a smell the roses type thing. And I think that's really awesome because I think it's important to focus on positivity, like even in the depths of despair, like when you've hit rock bottom. Like I personally, when I've been at my worst, I'm always able to laugh at myself. Humor has saved me so many times. In fact, before I answer his email, I want to talk about how I got the name of this podcast, Pickles and Vodka. When I was at like my worst a few months ago, like I was, drinking every night, sleeping on a couch. I kind of relapsed into my eating disorder, and food was really weird for me. Like there were some things that I like could eat, some things I couldn't. I'm not going to go like into huge detail about it on this podcast episode, the first one anyway. But I was sitting on the couch eating pickles out of a jar with a fork, and then I had like vodka just sitting on the table, and it was like 3 a.m. I just kind of like had this moment where you kind of like see yourself like from another perspective, and I just started laughing maniacally and it was really funny. I thought it was funny, but I have a weird sense of humor. But yeah, pickles and vodka kind of sums up my experience, and I think it's funny. Anyway, so Jeremy, what's a little thing I enjoy or appreciate? I was gonna say my cat for this one, but I can't now because that was the answer to the last one. Honestly, I've found like little things to treat myself. Like I've been really into lotion lately, like really nice smelling lotions. My skin is constantly dry. I work in the service industry and I handle a lot of like harsh chemicals. So plus it's winter, so my hands are always dry. Lotion just makes me feel like a fancy bitch. Candles, same thing. I don't know. Socks, like just go out, buy yourself a $7 pair of TJ Maxx socks that are soft as fuck, and I guarantee you that it'll help you feel better because it's worked for me. That's my method of fixing your life, you guys. Just go out and buy fancy socks. But yeah, thank you so much, Jeremy, for tuning in. Love it that you're supporting the podcast. And for all the new listeners out there who might have lost contact with me over the years, or, maybe you're a stranger off the internet, thank you so much for tuning in. Like, I appreciate it a lot. I never really expected anyone to follow this when I started it. This was mainly for me. And so the fact that so many people are invested in it just blows my mind. I love it. So that's all with the emails. In the future, like I said, I'll get more responses back to you guys. But I want to wrap up the show every week with something cool that I discovered that week, because I think it's important to focus on positivity and give you guys something like a recommendation that you guys can check out that week, because I love it when other people do that. I love discovering new podcasts, new books, new music, new whatever. So this week's cool thing is a book. And before I tell you what it is, let me just say how I found it. So a couple weeks ago, I was drunk and I had this moment where I was like, I'm going to better myself. I'm going to read more. And I went to audible.com and signed up for a 30-day free trial. For those of you who don't know, Audible is an Amazon company. They produce audiobooks. They're amazing. They have an app you can download easily on your phone and listen. It is $15 a month, which is too expensive for my broke ass, but it was a 30-day free trial. I was like, why not? So I signed up for it when I was drunk. Shocker, didn't listen to anything all month. And then yesterday I saw the charge on my debit card. They were charging me for a month. I was like, oh shit, now I gotta listen to something or it'll be a waste of money. So I went to the website and I was looking at the bestsellers list and I saw this book called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. The tagline is a counterintuitive approach to living a good life. And so immediately I was hooked. So I've been listening to that this week and it's been really entertaining and helpful. Basically, his whole deal is that positivity is overrated and people need to accept that life is just a struggle. And I know that sounds terrible, but that's actually kind of aligns with what I'm looking for in this podcast. Like, I don't want to just be all positivity and you can be a better person. Like, I want to focus on the bad stuff because everyone experiences them. And we will continue to experience them our whole lives. That's just reality. One thing that Mark talks about is that life is an upward spiral. Like, he uses this term, upward spiral, and I thought that was fascinating. So basically, like, you're going to struggle your whole life. And in the beginning, your struggles might be really bad. But then as you live your life and you accept that you're going to struggle, the goal is to have better struggles, is how he put it. Like, life doesn't have to give you lemonade, but at least you can learn to stomach the lemons better. If I keep trying to talk about this, I think I'm going to butcher it. So I'm just going to shout out to The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. It's on Audible. You can get a 30-day free trial, but don't be like me. Remember to cancel before they charge you. Okay. So with that said, before I wrap up, I just want to shout out to everyone who's volunteered to be a guest. I love you guys. I'm super excited to record with you. And I'm still looking for more guests. Like, I'm never not going to be looking for guests. So if you guys feel like you have something to say about mental health, maybe it's about you, maybe it's something a loved one is experiencing, I don't know. I don't care. Like, if you have something to say, just give me a call, text me, slide into my DMs. I don't care. Let me know. I have this amazing software that lets me, it's not software, I don't know why I said that. It's like an app that lets me connect to remote guests. Like, you don't even need to download anything. It makes it super easy to record with guests remotely. So I don't care where you live. You can be on my show. Just let me know. And you guys have been so amazing. Like I said, please continue to send me emails about topics you want to hear about. If you have any questions, if you need advice, if you just want to rant. I've had people email me basically like their life stories. And I love that because I think these are things that are so common that no one knows about. And we feel like we can't put it out there. And we should, because it's who we are. And I don't want to deny or hide who I am. So with that said, I'm just going to wrap up by plugging the podcast. You guys can follow me on Instagram, Pickles and Vodka Podcast. Same on Facebook. I'm about to publish a website, hopefully in the next week. I'm really busy at work this week, so we'll see how that turns out. But I'm super excited about this website. For those of you who don't have social media, it's going to be a place where you can follow the podcast. It's going to be shiny and pretty. And yeah, it's going to be super exciting. I love you guys, and I hope you have an amazing week. And again, thank you so much for listening and following me on this crazy journey. Bye!